What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? Hey, Nathan. Ooh. Sorry, y'all. I'm a little bit flustered, but I'm here. You guys can hear me, I think. How y'all doing? Yes, you can. Amen. What's up, everybody? How are y'all doing? Man, I was running a bit late, even just like finishing my notes today. Actually, I didn't even finish my notes. I've got everything noted except for like the main topic, which I'm saving for last anyway, and I already know what I want to say about it, so it's fine. I just had stuffs to do today, that's all. But yeah, welcome everybody to General Hospital Envy, my GH after show. It is officially December, hence the Christmassy vibe music. And here in Edmonton, Alberta, it has finally snowed. It has never not snowed in November, and now it's December, and we finally get snow tonight. Although it's supposed to be like plus 5 or 6 tomorrow, so it might melt by tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see. It'd be weird if it does. Yeah, a few things to talk about today. Obviously, the thumbnail shows that we've seen Pikeman. And I want to talk about Ava getting a photo of Austin in the mail. And then, of course, all the things in between that happened in Port Charles this week as well. Hey, Nikisha. Yeah, I hope you guys had a great weekend. Mine was pretty uneventful, but I liked it that way. You know, some weekends have been hectic lately, so I am not complaining. I got to relax for most of it. But yeah, it's the season of winter. Winter is upon Edmonton finally. It has snowed. It is okay. It's not cold, so I'm okay with this. I've barely gotten to look outside though to see it. It's because it really started snowing like just tonight while I've been writing my notes. I'm just aware that it is there, and I've caught a glimpse out the window. Alright, but yeah, I say we just already go into it by wrapping up the rest of the Thanksgiving shenanigans that occurred on Monday. Also, apologize in advance if I sound a little bit stuffed up. My allergies are kind of bothering me a little bit tonight. But I just took a pill, so hopefully it'll kick in before the live stream's over. But yeah, since the Quartermains and the Thanksgiving kind of go hand in hand, we'll wrap up their Thanksgiving story first. When we last left off, we heard the smoke alarm go off in the kitchen, and the turkey was burned into liquid, basically. The reason being, it's probably the stupidest possible reason the show could come up with. Gloria has been so distraught because apparently this guy from the Russian mob in Bensonhurst is angry at her for yelling at his wife at a bingo hall, which she brings up to Lois, and Yuri, the cute butler, overhears this and offers to step in because he also happens to be Russian and happens to be his nephew's trombone teacher in his downtime from butlering, I guess. Like, what? Hey, Albert. Aw, and thanks, Nikisha. Music's too loud? Okay, I can turn it down a little bit. It does feel a bit louder. I kind of just found this one, but yeah, it's a bit chaotic, isn't it? Let me switch it to my classic one. Maybe I'll keep that for, like, the live streaming shortly screen, and then go to my usual. I got this. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Yeah, I'm on it, Albert. Don't worry. Let me see. Oh, that's my actual singer. Hold on. There we go. There we go. There we go. No, like, it was, even for me, louder than usual, and it's crazy because I have a volume, like, set at, like, 2 for the music. So that particular track is just louder than, like, average tracks for some reason. Plus, I really got that at last minute, and I want something a bit more chill for, like, the live streams anyway. So back to normal for now. But yeah, and I think that, yeah, this is much better. Okay, cool. All right. So, but yeah, anyway, so like I was saying, instead of getting their mobster friend, Sonny Corinthos, the big bad mobster that everyone in the state of New York fears, they got the mobster's nephew's trombone teacher, who is the Q's butler, to step in, which I don't understand. I don't understand. Spiderquake. Oh man. Oh, hey Spiderquake. Alright. But yeah. Oh, hey Angel. You said Chase and Brooklyn finally decided to be together. They don't need to be engaged at all. We'll talk about that in a second, actually. But yeah, as I was saying, you know, Yuri stepped in to try and get the mobster to back off of Gloria. Now, as for the turkey, Olivia was ready to order the pizza, but Lois called the Metro Court instead to get Nina to bring the turkey, which she had every intention to, but they were fully booked, so Nina had to bring pizza instead. So the Q's got pizza. But side note, before this, she had actually snuck over to the Quartermain guest house, where Willow and Michael live, to drop off a present for Willow and Wiley before throwing herself into the work at the Metro Court again, which Michael was not too happy about it when he found the present. And then when Nina did show back up at the Q's with the pizza, she came face to face with Ned, who reassured her he wouldn't be causing her grief tonight. Michael gave her hell, though, when no one was looking, as usual. Anyway, the day after, we see Yuri trying to persuade the mobster to let go of the vendetta against Gloria, and Gloria makes it damn near impossible, just getting in his face every step of the way. And thankfully Brooklyn stepped in, offering to put his nephew on some band she's apparently already managing that's going on tour that needs a trombonist, which makes zero sense since Blaze is her first, and she only just stepped into the studio like a week ago. But it must be true, because I'm sure he could verify that. And with that, the Russian mobster backed off, and the Q's lived happily ever after, until Gloria asked as she was stepping out the door when Brooklyn and Chase were getting married, which opens up a can of worms that Brookie was certainly not prepared for. Lois was all for it, though. She wouldn't mind them getting married. And I don't know, Brooklyn, she was terrified of what Chase might think of all the pressure, but he took it well. So well that by the end of the week, he actually proposed to her. And Angel, you said that they don't need to be together or don't need to be engaged at all. But yeah, I agree with that. Like I feel like, I know they've been together for a while, but it hasn't felt like that long. Like, certainly not long enough for him to like marry Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like yesterday that he was still kind of pining over Willow, even though it was like maybe 2 years ago by now. But yeah, I don't really know how to feel. I don't know how to feel. Like, I mean, obviously Gloria does seem like the type of woman that would ask, you know, her granddaughter when she's getting married. It's kind of like your stereotypical, like, nosy Italian grandmother vibe. And I think Chase was willing to put his money where his mouth is. I just hope that Brooklyn is like, you know, I love you, I want to spend my life with you, but we do not need to get engaged, not this way, just, you know, just minutes after my grandmother tried to pressure you into, you know, doing it faster. So yeah, I don't know. That's how I feel about that. How do you guys feel? Now, as for Michael, this man, this man literally cannot get a handle on his hate for Nina, and it gets even more heated when he runs into Sunny and Nina at the Metro Court. And basically, Sunny wants Michael and Willow and Wiley to spend Christmas, either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, at their place. Try to fit them in. And then Sunny has to answer a phone call and he leaves. And Michael's like, how dare you try to manipulate Sunny into this? And Nina's like, boy, I did not do anything. Like, it's just that Sunny wants to spend time with you. I didn't coerce him into this. It's just funny. Oh, Angel, you said they moved in together because Chase's father said something. Now BLQ's nosy grandma. Yeah, they're moving as fast as they are because of other people, and that shouldn't be what's happening. And I think that they like each other enough that they can make their own choices, and yet everyone does seem to be making choices for them. But yeah, going back on Michael, Michael and Nina are having this argument. Sunny walks back in and really catches like the dirty looks they're giving each other at the end of it. And he asks what's going on, and Nina's like, I forget what Nina says exactly, but she gives like a flimsy reason, and he just believes it. And it's funny because I think Nina had mentioned to Michael that Sunny is not so easily manipulated. However, you just proved his point that he is. So I don't know. DG said, as much as Michael bores me, I must say I like the blackmail angle with Nina. It's fun seeing Nina squirm, though I hate both characters. I mean, I hate Michael so much, and I do not like Nina. His blackmail, like what he's blackmailing for, he's basically he's not wanting to tell the secret, right? So like Nina can say do it, and I don't think Michael would. And basically, Michael tried to strong-arm her into giving Carly back to Metro Court, and Carly does not want the Metro Court right now, so that didn't work. So it's at this point, it's like, what else do you got? Either tell the truth, rip the Band-Aid off, or or just bury it. DG said, I really couldn't care less about Brooklyn and Chase. The characters and the actors do nothing for me. Josh McCard is just eye candy, and Amanda Sutton does nothing for me. I think they're cute enough. I just, this storyline's just stupid. They're one of those couples that, I'm not neither here or there with. There's a lot of those couples on the show. I don't hate them together, but they don't do much for me either. I do think that they have good chemistry, though, at the very least. Nikisha, you said, I feel like Nina only shows her true self to Michael. Her mask slips. Those scenes are fun to watch. I enjoy Nina when she leans into the villain arc. Carly was stupid not to take the Metro Court back. Well, she also couldn't. She doesn't want Michael to pay for it, first of all. And I think someone was saying that she technically can't take his money because of his ties in the insider trading thing. Perhaps, and I don't know, I don't remember if that's true, but I can see why Carly may want to hold off on it, and why she kind of has to hold off on it, because she didn't say flat out no indefinitely. She just said no for now because she just wants to be able to buy it back herself, and that's very much into Carly's wheelhouse of wanting to do things for herself right now. What else? Oh, yeah. Elsewhere in Port Charles on Thanksgiving, Diane joined Emma, Robert, and Anna for Thanksgiving dinner at the Metro Court, and Emma asked how long they've been dating, to which Robert replies, a month. It's a good thing Robert said so, because I think we all might have missed that, because they didn't exactly specify when they started dating. It's yeah, they like each other, but I don't even think they went on that date that they were supposed to, right? Now, as for Carly, she had all the kids at her place for Thanksgiving dinner, as well as Drew. Sonny dropped off his daughter. And then he headed to Nina at the Metrocourt where they had that awkward encounter. But he didn't head off before giving Dex the rest of the night off to spend Thanksgiving with Jocelyn at Carly's place. And Ava comes too, since Carly thought Avery would like Ava being there, which I think was very thoughtful of Carly, weirdly enough. And also just knowing what Ava had just been through recently, I think Carly sympathized for that a little bit, as did Jocelyn. Jocelyn actually may have said that she kind of mentioned it. And then finally, in the Thanksgiving sort of episode that finished off Monday, we saw the Robinsons as well. Initially, and the Ashfords, whatever. Initially, they were all off doing their own thing. Portia was working. Trina and Spencer were spending it in bed together. Curtis was starting his investigation into who shot him. And Stella is back in London again, gallivanting with her cousin, a.k.a. probably spending it with the guy that she was actually in a relationship with over there. But then everyone, apart from Stella, came back to the house and celebrated Thanksgiving all together. They rallied themselves up some dinner, and then at the end of the episode, we actually seen a little sort of pop-up that said, "In loving memory of Tyler Christopher." So they paid homage to Tyler in that way. But yeah, now that we got the Thanksgiving stuff out of the way, let's move on with the rest of the week. We'll talk about all things Austin. It took a minute, but Port Charles residents are finally realizing that Austin is dead. Dante is the first to discover it after a conversation he had with Sonny. Sonny straight up told Dante that Austin and Mason were working for Cyrus, and since Dante hadn't heard from Austin after he had said that he was going to give his boss's name, he decides to give him a call, and an officer from Pawtuck answered his phone and told him that Austin was murdered. And then that officer came to Port Charles to discuss it with Dante, because obviously since he has ties in Port Charles, they'll have to investigate together. Meanwhile, the hospital finally noticed Austin hadn't shown up to work either, and had tried calling him, and even got Elizabeth to go to his apartment that he apparently had here in Port Charles, to try and track him down. He obviously wasn't there, but there was food sitting outside of his door that was clearly untouched for at least a day, and she was so concerned she went to the apartment's super and asked to be let in, and it looked like he hadn't been there for a day or two. All of that happened off screen, by the way, because they're not going to give this character a new apartment when he's already dead. What are you saying, DG? You said, "I really wish Tyler could have an actual remembrance episode on the show. It's not going to happen. He's been off the show for too long, and the role has been recast." Yeah, I mean, they could do something. We'll see. Hi, the Sabrina breakup lasted a day. Maybe a day and a half. Yeah, it was not very long. Austin's murder is so far a yawn. He laid there for days in real time, and they didn't even write a fun find the body scene. It should have been Ava. I mean, here's the thing, DG. I care so little about Austin that I wouldn't have cared if he died and no one mentioned it at all. Anywhere. So, I couldn't care who found the body. I don't care that he's dead. He was a useless character, and the faster they get through this story, the better. Obviously, they seem to be leaning towards maybe Ava getting framed for it, and that's what we're going to talk about next. So, in regards to that, going back to Sonny and Dante for a second, Dante had actually told Sonny he just found out that Austin was murdered, and naturally, Dante had to ask if he had anything to do with it, and Sonny was basically like, "No, I wouldn't be that sloppy. No one would find the body." But Sonny's first thought was Ava, so he confronts her, and she's just as shocked to find out that Austin is dead as he was. But Sonny did bring up a good point, in that she could be suspect numero uno because of her close association to him. And sure enough, a bit later, Dante pays Ava a visit to ask her questions, and for whatever reason, Ava decides to just act really happy and smug about it. I don't know why. she almost had this like, yeah, I did it, what you gonna do about it vibe, even though we know she didn't do it. Like, I don't know, she just seemed smug and happy, which was silly to me. But when Dante questions about when she had last seen him, she mentions that she had seen him at the gallery, a couple days before Thanksgiving, and that she stayed there. But unfortunately for her, the cameras in the back rooms aren't working in the gallery, and that's where she spent most of the time, and that's where she exited. So she has no alibi in reference to Austin's death. So that's not good. And if that isn't bad enough for her, she checks her mail, and there is a picture of Austin's murdered corpse with a note that says, "You're welcome." Which, if anybody had seen that, it would make it look like Ava hired someone to kill Austin. So my first question is, who do you think sent her the photo? Do you think it was the murderer? Or do you think it was someone that just happened to see Austin was there and is taking credit for it? Or is it someone that killed him to try to frame Ava for that murder? What do y'all think? And DG said, I don't care about Austin, but it's a tradition on GH since the start that when someone is knocked off, a popular character is framed, and there's always a big find the body scene. That was always fun. I mean, Ava is kind of being framed, though. Just happened in a non-traditional way. Ava being reckless with the cops. Yeah, exactly. She's making herself look guilty. Exactly. Lord knows with Dante investigating the case, we won't know who did it until next year. That's true. Cyrus probably sent the letter. You might be right. I mean, he might just be sticking it to Austin's ghost at this point. Be like, well, you tried to save Ava, and I'm going to make sure she's going to go down for your murder. Oh, man. But we'll see. Moving on, though. Let's talk about Molly. Molly had set up an appointment to meet with the organization that tracks down women willing to be surrogates without telling TJ about it first. And he was not happy about that because he isn't ready to start their search over again for a surrogate. He's still grieving. And then Molly, she decides to meet up with the lady that's helping her find surrogates anyway at the Port Charles Grill after having a talk with Dr. Navarro, who, was supporting her. And Alexis was there because she had been in there earlier with Laura and forgot her phone. We'll talk about why Alexis and Laura were there in a little bit. But anyway, she sits down with Molly, and after confiding in Alexis about what happened, she suggests that Molly tell TJ about this instead of shutting him out. Molly then goes to the park to clear her head instead of going to TJ, and she runs into Willow and Amelia, baby Amelia, and Molly actually isn't crushed by it initially. She had found comfort in holding Amelia, kind of like how Willow found comfort in, holding Wiley, even after she had found out he wasn't actually the son that she gave birth to. And Willow also gives perspective to Molly about how she moved on after she had learned that her first child had died. But then after Molly had left Willow and Amelia, it hit her that she might not ever get a chance to be a mom, and she broke down to tears. Thankfully, Christina happened to be walking by when she broke down and hugged her. I actually really liked these scenes, to be honest. This is the first time I was actually touched by the actress that plays Molly's performance. So there's hope. You see, I can absolutely give Recast a chance. And I think, in terms of any of the last few Recast, she probably has it the hardest because of how, Haley left the show and how we've kind of seen a string of actresses play her throughout the start of this major storyline for this character. So, yeah, I don't know. I liked it, and I think that the two sisters played well off of each other. And to add to that, Christina took Molly back to her place to hang out, which is a new set. We got to see Christina's new apartment. It might be a reused set. It kind of reminds me of Jordan's old place. I could be wrong, though. But they could have just maneuvered it around and used some parts from Jordan's place and then, connected things together. Needless to say, they have a heart-to-heart, and it leads to Christina offering to be Molly's surrogate again, and this time, she's a bit more receptive to it, but obviously Molly knows that she needs to discuss things with TJ, first about looking for a surrogate, let alone Christina's offer, before any decisions can be made. But we as the audience who pay attention to GH stuff behind the scenes know that she's going to accept Christina's offer because Kate Manzi spoiled it on Stephen Bradford's podcast a few weeks ago. So oopsie to the spoilers we didn't mean to find. Anyone get a vibe that Portia and TJ will have an affair? I know Nikisha did last week, or when we were talking about it on Wednesday. I don't know if I see that yet. I think it's a bit weird. I don't know. I would rather see TJ have an affair with Willow, to be honest. Taj deserves much better than this lame story. You're right, but I think he's doing a great job with the material regardless. And that's a credit to him as a performer. I was watching one of the Rock TV's GH reviews, and one of the commercials was the current Molly being in a commercial for a pharmaceutical drug company. That's funny. Hayley Poulos got no airtime when she played the role. I don't get how Frank expects the audience to suddenly care about Molly after a recast. The original actress never got any airtime anyway. You're right. Well, I think that, here's the thing though. They definitely planned on Hayley being a bit more front and center with the story, I think, when they started it. Because it was just going to be her and then Kate Manzi as Christina playing off of each other. But obviously that didn't happen due to Hayley's life choices. Awkward. But yeah, anyway, since we're talking about TJ and Portia, TJ was confiding how he was doing to Portia and saying that he's not ready to start the process again. And Portia tells him that life is short, you never know what's around the corner, so it's now or never, and that's the better way to live life, even if he doesn't feel ready, because he may never be ready, and anything can happen in life. Obviously, she's referring to Curtis getting shot, kind of putting his life on hold. And, as soon as they find out that Austin's dead, then that as well will factor in. But yeah, do you guys agree with Portia? Like, do you think TJ should just, look for the surrogacy or surrogate with Molly and just be supportive in that? Because I feel like, to an extent, I can agree with Portia in the general sense. Life is too short to wait for most things, you want to go for eventually. But when it comes to grief and trying for a child, that's not something you jump into head first, I think, before you, process what you've lost. So, I don't know. It's a slippery slope, I feel. It's hard to kind of grasp that, because not that this situation isn't as devastating for Molly as it is TJ, but that was literally TJ's sort of DNA, whereas it wasn't Molly's. So it may actually hit harder for TJ, and I think he's trying to reel it back in because he's trying to be supportive to Molly as well. But I don't know. Obviously, I think TJ has the right to grieve for as long as he wants, and of course Molly's upset about that. She does feel like she'll never get to be a mom because of TJ not being ready. But the two of them need to have that conversation with each other. Communication with couples, you guys. I don't even care about TJ and Molly as a couple or having a baby. We just haven't seen them enough for over the years to care. And this is true. GH made a point to let us know that Portia and Curtis aren't being intimate, and they keep putting Portia and TJ together in intimate moments. It could happen. I guess you have a point there. We'll see. We'll see. Frank can't just shove them onto the front burner now, especially after recasting both parts. It's dumb. Yeah, but also we have to remember too that like for most of what we saw with the first part of this storyline, we literally like we had scab writers, and the scab writers could not like, you know, remove or add a story. They had to continue what the plan was. And yeah, write the day-to-day scripts for it. And up until about, you know, a couple weeks ago, we didn't start transitioning back to the original writers. So I think we kind of had to see we kind of had to see that through a little bit for a while. Now what they do at this point, now that the writers are kind of back, we'll see. We'll see. How's he gonna sleep with his uncle's wife? Yeah, I don't know. TJ would have to be in a pretty bad way to sleep with Curtis's wife. Hey, Jacarius. Taj can break a nail and turn it into classic drama. He's that good. He's one of the very few, especially younger actors, that's up to Gloria Monty standards. That's rare in the last 20 years. I actually do agree with you to that end as well, DG. I think that Taj is extremely talented. And it kind of, like, it just, because he's a doctor on the show, it kind of makes me feel like he has the potential to be that leading doctor sort of role that's been missing on GH. In the sense that he could become a really beloved character and doctor on the show. And it's been a while since we've had that staple. Like, you think about over the years of, like, the leading doctors that carried at least the hospital storylines. Steve Hardy obviously being one of them, but Alan once he died, Patrick once Alan died, and we haven't really had anyone since Patrick. We had potential candidates in like Griffin before they kind of made him a bit more messy as like a priest that slept with a mother and daughter and like push him into all these weird storylines. Because I think that Matt Cohen, who I think was the name of, or was it Matt Cohen? The actor that played Griffin, I think that he was decently talented enough to sort of take on that role, but I do think that Taj is even more talented than Matt was. So, I don't know. I would just love to see TJ take on that role, and for the show to at least have a bit more focus on the hospital. Like, it doesn't need to be the end-all be-all storyline on GH that is forefront, but it needs to be present, I feel, because it's been missing for a long time. I don't know, it just feels like things happen in the hospital from time to time, but I don't know. It just doesn't feel like the heart anymore, which is unfortunate. Only wish that TJ was tied to the legacy families. The Hardy, the Webbers, the Q legacy at the hospital is all gone. It makes longtime viewers like me sad. And I totally get that too. But having said that, they could end up tying him to a legacy character, at least through marriage, you know? Like, maybe TJ can find, you know, if things don't work out with TJ and Molly, they can put him with a Quartermain or you know, a Hardy. Bring on a character for him that has ties to the legacy characters from the hospital. Bring on the Hardys. All right, but moving on, let's quickly backtrack a little bit to Alexis and Laura, since we kind of mentioned it. Laura had basically met up with Alexis at the Port Charles Grill just to check in on Esme, making sure she's still doing a good job at work, and that she's not thinking of letting her go in the near future, because she tells Alexis that Esme is going to be getting her own place and that Laura will be co-signing for the lease. Laura also thanks Alexis for how she handled telling Charlotte's story in The Invader, and how Alexis didn't mention Charlotte's name or Anna's involvement, which would be a normal conversation to have, except that Cyrus was there because he works there now, and he was lurking and listening in on that entire conversation. So y'all know that Cyrus is gonna use that to his advantage in some way in the future. So I feel like it was such a blink and you miss it moment. So I'm gonna try to remember that when something fishy happens with Anna and Charlotte. But to that end, apparently James Patrick Stewart is taking some time off GH to shoot something. So we might not see him and Charlotte for a while. We'll see. Or maybe that'll have something to do with it. I don't know. You said on another live stream that the GH writers need to watch Chicago Med. They do the best medical stories every week. That would be great for the continuing format. I mean, I'd be down for that. I don't see it happening, but I'd be down for that for sure. They should take notes on actual hospital drama. Because I feel like, I don't know. It feels like these writers have no idea what goes on in hospitals. And it's very apparent. Like, when you think about how much, even in the Guza era, they'd focus on, like, different medical situations and like, educate as well as, you know, like, have surgeries instead of just talking about them happening. You just don't see it as much anymore on the show. And when you do, it doesn't feel as authentic, so I don't know. But speaking of hospital storylines, we might as well talk about Finn and Liz. Things are obviously not looking good for Finn. He gets questioned by GH's lawyer, who puts him on the spot about whether or not he bothered to initially check if the deceased patient's illness could be anything more than a tapeworm. And of course, at that point, he calls his lawyer Martin in to sort of take the reins. And Martin basically puts GH's lawyer on notice, knowing that her motives are to throw Finn under the bus to save the hospital. And he's not feeling good about that. Who would? Elizabeth continues to support Finn, of course, and they have a lovely dinner at a fancy restaurant that is not the Port Charles Grill. But I swear we've seen it before, maybe. It's a really tiny set, so it's nothing like elaborate. You can just tell it's supposed to be fancy. But long story short, Elizabeth says that she's going to spend all of her spare time trying to make Finn seem more likable in front of a jury, so that the jury may favor him, because a lot of the talk with Finn has been how he is kind of cold and unfeeling. And even though, you know, Elizabeth, as well as the people at the hospital, know that he is a caring individual on the inside, it does not show on the outside unless you actually know who Finn is. So, you know, good luck with that, Liz. I wish you all the best in that matter. I think that Finn is probably gonna lose his job at the hospital. I'm calling it now. I don't think his job is gonna be saved. He's gonna be the next Alexis in, you know, taking what we've known a character to be their entire tenor on the show and throwing them out of that and then putting them into a stupid career that is pointless and makes no sense to what the character has, you know, been through in their life. But, you know, maybe I'm wrong. Might be wrong. Jakarius, you said that you wish that they could write for TJ better. So do I. And you don't give a damn about Finn. Neither do I. But I still got to talk about it a little bit. DJ, you said, I'll take the malpractice suit just because it's a med story, but it's about a patient and a doctor I don't care about. But it will also hopefully distract Finn and Liz and keep them out of the bedroom. Please get Finn fired and then leave the town in disgrace. Oh man, yeah. And the Michael Easton tenor along with Roger Howarth. No, I think even Michael Easton could pull off a better character if they would just write better for him. You know, you could argue that Roger could too, but like, But, you know, Roger's had too many chances, and so now it's either take it or leave it with Finn. If they remove Finn, then I don't want Michael Easton back as another character. You know what I mean? But I don't think that they're going to remove Finn. Maybe Finn will take Gregory's job after his dad dies. Oh, you're probably right, Nikisha. Lord. He going to become a journalist just like his daddy and Alexis. Oh, no. But yeah, what you were saying, DG, before that comment, I don't mind that it's a patient and doctor malpractice storyline either, but I would have liked it more if we had actually seen the patient and what he went through, like, to show it happen on screen. The only thing that we had seen pertaining to this story at all was a scene with Finn and Elizabeth on the roof of the hospital talking about how he lost a patient. And I don't know, there was a time where GH would actually show that happening, something like that happening, and then us seeing the malpractice suit kind of form after that. But, you know, it's this wall that they put up that, like, a lot of things take place off screen, and so it takes, at least and I'm sure some of yours too, it takes me out of the story a bit. Like, it makes me not care less because we didn't get to see this patient. We didn't get to know the patient. As far as we know, this is some off-screen family that are going to be played by a bunch of extras when they finally bring it to court. You know, like, where they could have made us care for the character, care for the family, then also see Finn, who had good intentions, you know, trying to help this man, and then losing him, and then the family getting angry. If I had seen all that on the screen, I probably would care more, and I would be stoked that they were handling the story with such care, but they're not, so I don't care as much. Like, it sucks, because I want to care. I miss hospital storylines on the show. And actually, you know, a few days ago I was binging Night Shift, season 2, because I liked season 2 better than 1. And, you know, they had some good storytelling there, even though a lot of it was like, each episode something else was happening. The only continued story throughout Night Shift season 2 was Jagger's son's autism and Robert's colon cancer, but there were a lot of, like, random things happening each episode that kind of stuck to one episode, maybe 2 sometimes, depending on what it was. And I like that. And it was nice to see Epiphany again on Night Shift as well. Michael's a good actor, but I'm very tired of him. No offense to him. He's run his course on the show. When Rick and Monica were sued for malpractice, we actually saw Mrs. Kerkorian die, and we met her very unstable husband, and the suit forced Rick and Monica to admit they had an affair. See, that's what I mean. Like, if we were seeing these things happen on screen, I would care a bit more. And as someone that, you know, that doesn't... I'd like to care about Finn more, but I don't, because they just don't give him anything that's really substantial. And it sucks because we know he's capable. Like, because, I mean, what, I guess in terms of... I have to define substantial a little bit here. Because we do get to see him shine in certain scenes. For example, scenes pertaining to his father's disease and how heartbroken he was. Michael killed it. But I like to care about him more as a character. We need to see him going through things, you know, himself, because a lot of it, you know, he just seems like he's not the focus of storylines that he's a part of, even though he technically should be in some ways, but I don't know. I just don't know. They probably won't even show us the court scenes. You're probably right. BDI Derek, you want Alexis to get her license back? She might as well. She keeps talking about how much she misses it. Maybe she can revisit it. These writers tell way too much backstory. We suddenly now find out Diane has been The Muldoon's lawyers for years. That's way too convenient. Yeah, that's what I mean. Nikisha, you said I love Night Shift. It was so good. I really did too. And that was really like the first time we seen some sort of, kind of what the hospital set is today. We see in the preview of that in Night Shift 2 before the hospital even burned down on GH, because they decided to use a different set and a different venue for Night Shift season 2. And it looked a lot better. It made the show feel more primetime. Does anyone miss Port Charles? Nah, I know y'all tried to get me to watch things here and there, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem like something that I would particularly be into. Sorry, Jacarius. DG said, I was watching the murder of Bradley Ward and the toxic incinerator story. Oh, I forgot about that. I did watch that on YouTube once, a long time ago, in the Luke and Laura playlist that Suzuki had. I think. What was it, like 1994 or something, right? I feel like I did. Or at least parts of it. Both those storylines were better than anything today. Tony was also still mourning BJ. Alexis is a convicted felon. If they give her a law license back, I'm out. That's just too ridiculous, even for a soap. She threw Alcazar off her dang balcony. How did she get away with that again? Because did she do jail time for that? I don't think that she did, right? Or was it like some kind of mental breakdown when she did that? Port Charles sucked. I tried to watch it, but it was lame. Remember the toxic ball storyline? Hard one to forget, Jacarius. In terms of the big sweep stunts, I have to admit, like, that was probably one of the worst. But it's not. But I did enjoy it, for what it was. It was corny as hell. But we got the new hospital set that was from Night Shift 2 because of that storyline. So, yeah. Okay, so I did watch it on there. Yeah, I binged that channel so hard before DG. Like, especially when Jeannie Francis came back in 2006, that's when I started watching that channel, and I binged for months, and I became obsessed with a couple, but also with all the, like, veteran storylines, the veteran characters that were a part of those storylines, and it made me fall in love with, people like the Quartermains and the Wards, even more, and getting to know a lot of the older characters. And then it kind of progressed into other characters that didn't have much to do with Luke and Laura, but that I saw through their scenes and wanted to know more about their characters. So, yeah. He said, I don't remember how they kept her out of jail, but I remember when Alcazar fell off the balcony. Yeah, I seen that montage too because, well, funny enough, like, we see, I think in that montage, they show, like, all these potential suspects that want Luis Alcazar dead. Brenda, I think, was one of them. Jason was another. And who else? There were a couple more in there too, I think. And Alexis wasn't really part of the montage, but you see her at the bottom of the building, and, like, seeing him on top of the car dead and screaming in terror. So, like, I feel like I didn't watch that whole storyline play out. But I feel like that was a good way to, get suspicion off of Alexis. You said, Jacarius, you said you loved Night Shift. It really showed background characters and stories. Yeah, I really loved seeing the hospital staff that we don't usually see involved in a lot of stories on Night Shift. That was season 1 more so, because season 2 they brought in new characters. Like we got, like, none of the characters from season 2, apart from, I guess, Robert technically, slipped into GH, whereas all the season 1 characters that were new on Night Shift did slip into GH. But, like, Syra, who was Robin's friend from Paris that became a doctor in GH, she didn't transfer over. Jagger and Stone didn't transfer over. Leo, he was recasted and played by the actor's brother that used to play Leo, but they didn't bring him to GH either. And then there were other characters that were on there that they also didn't bring over. And those were characters that I wish did come over. Even if it was like gradually. Not too late. Yeah, we still got the main topic to talk about here. And hello, Kaiwan. Everyone, who was y'all's favorite Lucky Spencer? Jonathan Jackson. Yeah, I have to agree. Like, listen, I liked Greg Vaughn. I think, especially I loved Greg Vaughn's Lucky with Sam. They were just two gorgeous people and a gorgeous coupling, and I loved them way more than I loved. Well, I didn't love Liaison at all. I loved Lucky and Sam, but I don't think I would have loved Lucky and Sam with Jonathan Jackson in the role. So it really came down to who played him and who had the chemistry. But yeah, I mean, you can't beat Jonathan Jackson. He is Lucky Spencer. He played him from the start as a kid. We watched him grow up into a teenager. We saw him as an adult. And as sad as I was for Greg Vaughn when he kind of got pushed out the door just to bring Jonathan back, I was so happy that I got to see Jonathan Jackson in action on the show. And, you know, he was crazy talented. Like, and, you know, he really brought Lucky back to the character that he was supposed to be. And it's a bit weird because, like, the writers could have wrote Lucky like Lucky under other actors, but they chose not to. And then when they brought Jonathan back, suddenly he was competent again. He was a competent cop. He had brains. He wasn't a dummy. You know, he had his own mind. He had vibes like his dad. He embraced those things. So, I don't know. We got a lot of character development or redevelopment when Jonathan came back. I liked all the Luckies, but JJ is my favorite. They turned Lucky into a deadbeat absent dad. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Night Shift had much better writing team and producer than Port Charles. That is true. And they also used more original GH vets. This is also true. But yeah, like, I think Sfry Rao was the writer or whatever at the time. And he definitely, you could tell that he was a fan of GH, and particularly was a fan of the Scorpio family. So I think he was the right person to take on Night Shift Season 2, especially because there was so much focus. I mean, even in Season 1, there's so much focus on Robin and Patrick, but there's so much focus on the Scorpio family as a whole, and that family's history on this season. So much so that we saw them bring freaking, you know, Sean and Tiffany back, and they rebuilt Robert's old house just for one episode and brought Luke on and Mac on, and they almost had Mac like kind of embracing his Australian side on the show and his more laid back vibe. I really liked how Sarai took on Mac Scorpio because they made him less of a stickler for the rules. He was drinking beer in the hospital with Robert, snuck it into his room. You know, I don't know. I liked that version of Mac. Because we know that when Mac first came on, he was not the most, you know, clear-cut, clean-cut guy. Hey, Kyrie's. Hashtag not my Nicholas Castanet is the one who sent Ava that letter. Maybe. Alright, okay, so a couple more things to talk about because we should wrap this up soon because it's getting late. Before we get into Pikeman stuff, I just want to mention, and we talked about it Wednesday, but Maxie's having financial troubles. Felicia and Mac, even though we're not seeing Mac on screen right now due to John York's health situation in real life. Good night, Jacarius. You know, she offers her money, and she doesn't want to take it, but she does. You know, Felicia insists. We also had seen Cody come in with James. Apparently, they're bonding quite well, and James is basically wanting Cody to fix all these things in Maxie's house. And Cody and James seem to have a lot in common. And Felicia mentions, her love of horses, and how Cody had mentioned that James seems like a horse whisperer himself. But it kind of gets the wheels turning in Felicia's head, and she remembers back to when Cody said that he wasn't Mac's son. And she's like, you could tell that she's starting to wonder if maybe he was, because I think she wanted to see the paper, and for whatever reason he didn't have to show it to her. Maybe because Mac was like, no, just leave him, let him be. But the wheels are turning in her head, so I think we're gonna get that story. Although the timing of it is weird, that she's starting to get suspicious, because I don't think we're gonna see Mac for a little bit. But yeah, I think that she is gonna figure out that Mac's his father. DG said, I'm sorry, but Maxie's money troubles is not compelling story. She owns a freaking cosmetics company. I have trouble feeling sorry for her. Yeah, but she explained that, like, they're in serious debt right now, like, because of the lawsuit. So that company is bleeding money, and, their assets were frozen for some time, so she had to do the credit card thing. But all that aside, I don't know this for sure, but there is something telling me that between Maxie's financial troubles and Carly not being able to buy back the Metrocourt, I really think that they are sort of slowly kind of putting together Bobby's exit, perhaps Bobby's death, and maybe Bobby's going to have a trust fund and she'll give money to Maxie, because of the heart situation with BJ, and to Carly. That's what I think is going on here. I don't think this is for nothing. I think, because why? They didn't have to mention any of this stuff, but there's a reason for it. And I think that it makes sense to me that maybe they're just kind of putting things together to have Bobby, have the secret money that she's going to give to these guys when she dies. How much money did she put on that credit card? Well, she had just gotten, a bunch of new furniture for the place. She had to move out of her house, move into Lulu's, buy Lulu's house, or rent it or whatever. I've never owned a company, so it's so hard for me to go, oh, poor Maxie. But yeah, no, I don't think that's the point of the story. I think that they are literally doing this to maybe potentially start Bobby's exit storyline. Because now that the writers are back, they're clearly starting to address it. Because Tracy mentioned leaving with Bobby to deal with Luke's affairs. And that stuff wasn't happening. And Carly's mentioning more and more about Bobby, and being a third generation to own Kelly's. So I think there's a good chance that Maxie's money woes, money issues might tie into that in some way. And that is just a theory. I don't read spoilers. You guys know this. But it seems apparent to me, and I always felt this, that once the current writers came back to the show, they were going to start addressing Bobby's death. Because the Scab writers literally were not allowed to, because Jackie died just when the strike started. So I don't know. That is my guess. Hopefully I'm right. Last but not least, we got to talk about it before we wrap things up. We finally get to see Pikeman. We see him. We don't know who he is at first, although I think I figured it out pretty quickly. He makes his way into Kelly's, introduces himself to Carly. He just wants a burger. He heard good things about Kelly's. And we see these corny scenes of Carly helping out a homeless man and giving him food instead of shooing him away, that Pikeman notes and compliments her on. But while this is all happening, the guy that we've kind of seen being Pikeman's go-between and offering Sonny money, offers Sonny double the money to ship another shipment through Port Charles again. Sonny turns him down, and Dex is there, and he's like, I think that was a mistake. And weirdly enough, I think that Dex is probably right, because we know that Pikeman, while he's still very much a mystery, he is clearly feared by a lot of people, and there's probably a good chance that he might have taken the hit against Sunny himself. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think that something bad is gonna happen to someone that Sunny loves, if not Sunny himself. I was hoping Pikeman was someone like Alcazar. I knew he was Pikeman from the first second. I'm also calling this. I think the homeless man is an undercover agent tracking Pikeman. That would be a good twist. I didn't even think about that. I just thought it was some corny scene. But we'll see. Replace. Oh, you wanted him to be like Alcazar. I mean, I get it, but I don't know. I'm willing to give this actor a chance. He seems like he could pull off villain as well. I just feel like, other than Cyrus, a lot of the the mobster villains. Well, I guess Pikeman isn't technically a mobster, or is he? Is he considered a mobster, or just like a sketchy security dude? I don't know. GH hasn't written a whole lot of compelling mobster